Uh, Thank you. Thank you for asking me to be here. Well, I mean, as I'm sure all of you know, but if you're new and you don't know, my husband, Reverend Glenn, he passed away in March, and it was quite a shock, quite a shock. So, we have a whole 3-hour video of his memorial service if you want to know the details. Reyes was there, a bunch of you were there, and I know a lot of you watched it, and thank you for watching the live stream. What I thought I'd do today is share with you what helped me make it through this challenging time. And a special dedication to Betsy, who resonates with what I'm going to share with you also. And Andre, it's so wonderful to see you. Absolutely, and you too, Maria. I haven't seen you in so long. So, first of all, I want to read this. If you don't know Angelo DeLullo, he's quite a guy. He's a new teacher that I've gotten really interested in, and he just puts things out there like straightforward, and it's really, really amazing. So I've been reading him, and I wanted to start with a quote from his book. To suppress the grief, the pain, is to condemn oneself to a living death. Living fully means feeling fully. It means becoming completely one with what you are experiencing and not holding it at arm's length. Oh my God. Well, I was just devastated, broken open, like completely lost my identity. Like, who the hell am I after 20 years of being Glenn and Yolanda? Who the hell am I? And I know you've experienced that. I know many of you in the room have experienced that with a loved one that has passed. What an experience, right? My God. So, what happened was, and the reason the phone is up here is because this is Glenn's phone and I keep it on. And it's really, really interesting. As I was singing, I don't know if you heard, but it beeped. Yeah. So I know this is magical thinking or whatever, but I just keep it with me because it beeps at the most strange and appropriate times. So I just keep it with me. Oh God. The day of his passing, I was on lesson 109 in A Course in Miracles workbook, and it says, I rest in God. When I got up that morning and read that, I was like, what? But as I contemplated it, and then later on in the day, he was in the hospital by this time in life support. We were waiting for his family to come. And they were driving from North Carolina, so that was quite a ways. So this is what I woke up to that day. We ask for rest today and quietness, unshaken by the world's appearances. Unshaken by the world's appearances. How can I be unshaken when I'm like completely shaken? We ask for peace and stillness in the midst of all the turmoil born of clashing dreams. We ask for safety and for happiness, although we seem to look on danger and on sorrow. And we have the thought that will answer our asking with what we request. I rest in God. Now, how can it be so simple? Wow, at that point, I didn't understand. How can it be so simple? But you know, this speaks to, for me, it speaks to spiritual practice. Now, you don't have to practice A Course in Miracles, it's just my jam. But whatever it is that you practice that brings you comfort, you know, we all have our own ways. I get up every morning and meditate, and thank God that I do that. And Glenn and I have been doing that together for, I don't know, 10 years or something. But it's just a habit that we got into, and thank God for it, you know, because literally that practice, and, you know, A Course in Miracles lesson every day, like, I don't know where I'd be without that stability, you know. So for me, this speaks to our practice. I rest in God. This thought will bring you to the rest and quiet, peace and stillness and the safety and the happiness you seek. I rest in God. This thought has power to wake the sleeping truth in you. And that, my friends, is exactly what happened. Now, I remember maybe, probably at least 10 years ago at this point, when Glenn described to me his awakening experience. And, you know, it was so, what he called his, you know, awakening to living the truth. And, I mean, we were already, had been in seminary and all of these things. And you know how you can hear spiritual principle and you know, I got that. That's, you know, it's cool. I, you know, understand what that is and blah, blah, blah. But it's like an understanding, like an intellectual thing rather than you know, like a lived thing, you know what I'm saying? So Glenn and I, you know, both of us had been in church all our lives. A lot of you know our stories, blah, 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 da, da, da. So one day we were sitting down by the water in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and looking at the Verrazano Bridge and just enjoying the afternoon. And it wasn't any big kaboom, but Glenn turned to me and he said, "Everything is so beautiful." He saw through the illusion in a way that I'd never seen before. And from that moment on, he never turned back. And sometimes, you know, people was, you know, in our memorial service, somebody said he was irascible, meaning quick to anger. Well, what that meant for him was he was seeing through the illusion. He was seeing through what was, to him, obvious. And I would poke him. You've seen me. I'd be like poking him. Stop. You're saying too much. You know, stop. You know. But he couldn't help himself. You know, he had to express himself. And so for him, it was very gentle. It was a very gentle sort of awakening, but he carried it through, all the way through. And it just got more and more real as he went along. Like he was able to, I said this the other day, but he would call me every day after work and I'd say, "Oh, what you doing?" He was like, "I'm just walking down the street saying hi to everybody I meet," you know? And that was Glenn. That's what he did. Well, you know, of course, you know, I love my husband with all my heart, and I didn't realize that a lot of what I thought of as my spirituality was actually performative, you know? And I don't mean that to necessarily to judge myself or anything. It's just like a realization, you know what I'm saying? I didn't reach a lot of the deeper meaning of Course in Miracles and what it could, and how the spiritual life truly can be lived in this dimension, at the same time seeing through this dimension and knowing what is really true, you know? So for me, it took this moment, this day, to crack me wide open. And now I know that I won't go back. I mean, not because anything of my will, but because I just surrender all. You know, I just surrender all. And, you know, it doesn't take someone dying to, you know, to make that happen for you or anything. It's just the way it did for me. It just absolutely said, well, the worst thing that could ever happen to me has just happened. So what else am I holding on to, right? So always this little nidge of, you know, I'm a singer-songwriter, performance artist, blah, 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 da, 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 New York City, doing the thing, blah, 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 going here, going there, da, 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 la, 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 la. And I've been doing that for 20 years. I've had, thank you, Betsy, you know, for reading my little bio. I mean, all those things have happened. I've been really happy and everything, but not like this. And I have to say that it really is a result of spiritual practice, because if I hadn't done all of that practice before this moment, I know that I would have resorted to drugs or sex or whatever, to food, whatever. You'd see a 300-pound person in front of you right now. Because in 1 month I could put it away, honey. I mean, I'm going to finish reading this because it's so amazing. And I'm going to share this with you. This thought has the power to wake the sleeping truth in you. And I'm going to show you how I practice this thought. But whose vision sees beyond appearances to that same truth in everyone and everything that is here. Everything. All living things, all material things, all of it is God. It comes from God. It is a part of God. Now, you know, and so that brings to mind, of course, we're in unity, so we don't necessarily have this question, but it does bring to mind, like, what is your definition of God? What do you think of when you think of God? Well, Glenn and I just talked about this, you know, on and on and on. And of course, you know, it just came to me so clearly that every particle of everything, you know, is God. And so if I don't like that word, I use love or sacred mystery, because it is a mystery. How strange. You know, how could we be here experiencing this three-dimensional reality, but yet also, and in truth, be spirit? What a mystery. And we don't have to solve it, which is just what I was trying to do with my spiritual practice before. Okay, I'm going to solve this mystery. You know, if I pray hard enough, if I meditate long enough, if I read the lesson, over and over and over again, I'll solve this mystery. I'll know the answer. There is no way for me to do that. And that's what's so strangely, for me, now satisfying. Because it's like, the Marianne Williamson quote, which I say all the time, it is not our light but our darkness that we're it's not our darkness but our light that we're most afraid of, you know? And the power that we truly are, so the shift for me is that I'm not a human being with God inside of me. I am, and you are, God, like blooming, like these little flowers, you know, like these fruits, you know, pieces of gorgeous fruit, delectable, you know, beautiful smelling flowers, you know, that's what it is. That's closer to what, you know, how I can describe it. And isn't it strange to try to describe this phenomenon in words? It's like, oh. That's why there's so many teachers, so many paths, so many holy books, because everybody resonates differently, you know? I rest in God Undismayed, this thought will carry you through storms and strife, past misery and pain, past loss and death, and onward to the certainty of God. There is no suffering it cannot heal. There is no problem it cannot solve. And no appearance but will turn to truth before the eyes of you who rest in God. So this is a day of peace. You rest in God, and while the world is torn by winds of hate, your rest remains completely undisturbed. Wow. I am in awe of this realization. Now, there's a lot going on in the world. Oh my God, wars and an election coming up and all this stuff, and I'm moving, and I'm sure there's all kinds of stuff going on in your lives, and I don't have any clue how it's all gonna play out. You know, I've got my car packed out here in the front yard. I've got a whole bunch of junk in it from my apartment in Brooklyn. I'm gonna drive up to my trailer and I'm gonna put it in there and just go, I rest in God. What an exciting way to live, though. What a really super interesting way to live. Wow. So, this is how I practice. I rest in God. It's just how I do it. So, I do a lot of walking, and I like to try to stay in the present while I'm walking because, anyway, New York City, you know. You're walking down the street, get out of my way. Even in Brooklyn. I'm not even talking about Manhattan, I'm just talking about Brooklyn, my neighborhood. So, this is how I do it. I rest in God. 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 That simple. Every step I take, everywhere I go, everything I do, I rest in God.